So, all right, guys, we got to get this one right. On three, we're going to say, welcome back to Extraordinary Thoughts for on their mind. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Extraordinary Minds.
And we back.
That'll work right there.
Yeah.
And we back. And we
Yeah.
back. And we back. And we back. And we
Y'all did y'all best. And that's all that
and
matters.
we.
What's going on, everybody? It's that Ordinary Podcast with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thigpen, and welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. Wow, these are some strange times that we're living in, but that doesn't mean that we need to be strange peoples. Happy Monday, everybody. And you know, when I say that, I really want you to understand that strange people, I really want you to understand that after these events, I'm talking about COVID-19, after all of the racial injustice pandemic that we've been dealing with right now, I am not going to forget how some of y'all acted during this situation. Like, I am not going to forget how some of y'all acted during this entire ordeal. Whether that's 6 months from now, whether that's a year from now, I am not going to forget your presence in this situation, whether it was good or bad. And I'm definitely not going to forget your absence in this situation, whether it's good or bad. And I bring that up because, you know, somebody asked me that I should talk about leaving your comfort zone. And I as I sat back and I really scratched my head on leaving your comfort zone and trying to figure out why or how is it that you leave your comfort zone, or why do most people even stay in their comfort zone? I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, fear of execution, fear of failure, fear of what other people think. But the biggest one is fear of change. And when I say fear of change, a lot of people don't understand that when you want to walk in your purpose, you know, become that better version of yourself, you're going to have to give up things. It's like an equivalent exchange. And before I could really dive into that thought, I opened up my phone once again and I just saw everything that had been going on. And just a little off topic for it, you know, I just want to say that it is definitely hard to focus when there's so much going on around you. It's so hard to focus, you know. And if you're an empath, you know, if you're really tapped in emotionally to a lot of things, you're going to need to take a break at some point. At some point you need to schedule taking a break. And I'm talking about, like, when you take a break, unplug from your phone, unplug from reality a little bit. And I hate to say leave reality, but like really just tap into yourself, because it has been so hard for me just to honestly just gather my thoughts, because my mind has just been all over the place in 8 different places. But I really want to dedicate this episode to you dumping your friends. Okay, and not all your friends. I remember I talked about this back in, you know, the very first episode of the new year. I talked about how you need to cut off your friends, that the reason why you're not successful is because of the people that you hang around. That statement is true. That's a true statement. And what I mean by that is that birds of a feather flock together. Doctors hang around doctors. Nuns hang around nuns. You probably unsuccessful because of the people that you hang around. So once again, you're probably unsuccessful because of the people that you're hanging around. And I don't say that in an attacking way. I just say that in a way that the people that you are associating yourself with, vision isn't that big. A lot of times we try to force others to see our vision. And because they cannot see it, we assume that the vision must not exist. A lot of times we abandon the vision because it does not, the picture that we have in our heads, the people that we have around us are not in the framework. And because of that, we tend to just throw it away. As I dive into this episode and I tell you a little bit about me and I tell you a couple of stories, I really want you to understand that your goals are a destination. And as you drive down that destination, I really want you to understand that you're probably in an SUV, you're probably in a van. And there's people in your life, you know, your friends. And as you drive down that, there's going to be exit signs. And with each exit sign that you pass, you might notice that the van starts to get a little bit more emptier. And it's because that each friend gets off on that exit sign. because that's where their destination is. And as you keep going, you might realize that you might be the only one left in the van. And a lot of times our biggest mistakes is that we realize that we might be the only one left in the van. So we get off on the wrong exit. Next thing you know, you stuck with somebody who's about to plateau and you could have went further. So when I tell you that you really got to understand that there's an equivalent exchange when they talk about moving in your purpose, walking in your purpose, become that better version of yourself, that you might have to lose a couple of people. You might have to lose a couple of people. And, we don't ever want to lose people. But I'll give you a little background real quick. When I joined the Marine Corps in 2009, although I am in touch with some of them people that I grew up with, I'm talking about grew up with, went to high school with, talked about how, we was going to be friends forever. I don't know them people no more. I might see them people. We might have like a good 15-minute, 10-minute conversation. But I don't know them people. And I say that in the sense that you're going to grow. A lot of things what we don't understand is that people come in your life for a reason, for reasons, seasons, and lifetime lessons. They might come in your life for a reason. It might be a season, or it might just be to teach you a lifetime lesson. They might come in there because, there's, people come in your life on purpose to serve a purpose. They might be coming in there to serve a purpose in your life. They might be coming in your life to serve just that purpose for that season. And when I say that season, that might be a phase that you're going through right now. That might be this whole, whatever it is, they might just fit that season right now. Whether that's right before, for example, when I had joined the military, I had friends that fit that season of me, that version of me before I became a Marine. And then I also have friends that fit that version of me at my first duty station. I also have friends that fit that version of me as a father. I have, and I really want you to understand that you're going to have people in your life that fit a certain version of you. And the moment that you upgrade to a different version, a lot of people just can't afford the subscription to you. And because they can't afford the subscription to you, you have two opportunities: maintain your upgrade or downgrade just to fit the needs of somebody else. And a lot of times that's what we tend to do. We will downgrade to fit the needs of somebody else because we're afraid to lose them. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but one thing that you can't be afraid to do is lose people. People are going to come in your life on a regular basis. One thing that you can't be is afraid to be alone. See, you were born alone and you're going to die alone. And I really want you to understand that you were born alone and you will die alone. At night, it is only you and your thoughts. So why can't it be you and your goals? One of the biggest strengths that you can have is tapping into yourself and being comfortable with being alone. I'll say that again. One of the greatest strengths that you can have is being able to tap into yourself and be comfortable with being alone. See, when you are comfortable with being alone with yourself, when you're secure with being with yourself, you don't have that need to have others around you. You ensure that the line is fortified. And when I say you have the line fortified, that we allow people to come in our lives and we draw these lines and say that this is what we are going to allow people to do in our lives and this is what we're not going to allow them to do. But because we are afraid to be alone, when they cross that line, we just pull the line back and just say like, hey, one strike one. They do it again, strike two. They do it again, strike three, and they're not out. And I don't say this on my high horse. I say this because I rode in on Experience Airlines. I used to do that. And sometimes I probably still do. That's why I tell you that it is so important for you to be tapped into yourself and not be afraid to be alone. Another reasons why we tend to downgrade is because of loyalty. We we moving towards our goals, things are happening, and the first thing that comes out somebody's mouth that isn't making the progression that we are making is you've changed. You're acting different. People tend to say that you acting different because the version of you is something that they can no longer access. They say that you acting different when the version of you is different in their eyes. Yeah, I'm acting different. I'm growing. I'm becoming a better version of myself. Of course I'm acting different. And, I never understood that. Let me rephrase. I do understand that. I do understand. I don't know why I even said that. I do understand. People gonna tell you that you acting different when they realize that they no longer fit in the frame of the picture that you have for yourself. People gonna say that you acting different when you no longer within reach of their needs. People gonna say that you acting different when you starting to become too big and they starting to realize that they up for the chopping block of getting cut off and they not secure with being alone with themselves. So in order to keep you around, they ready to cut your dreams, stunt your growth, and bring you back down. So when we talk about loyalty, just to go back to the immediate topic that we were talking about, when we talk about loyalty, I really want others to understand this. Loyalty is the conduct in which someone behaves when you are not around. It is not based off of time. Okay? It is not based off of time served. It is the conduct in which you act when someone is not around or when something is not around. That's what loyalty is. I've had friends defend my honor, defend my name and never even told me about the battles that they were in. Never told me about them. I just would later on find out about it. That's loyalty. That they defended me. Ain't gotta call me to get me involved. They defended me as if I was already there. And they might back brief me later on down the line, depending on how serious it was. Then I've had friends that have allowed people to talk bad, show ill intent, do things with me in mind, and they just stood there and just was happy that it wasn't them. I'll give you two stories. The first one was my cousin. And he talked about how men that date outside their race, they're sellouts. And this has always been an uphill battle. There's always been an uphill battle for me. Just for the simple fact that the mother of my children is, obviously she's Mexican and I'm black. And this has always been an uphill, especially with other black people. Is that, you sold out, or what was wrong with other black women and X, Y, and Z. It had nothing to do with that. It just so happened that I clicked with somebody that was just outside of my race. It just so happened that God created somebody for me that just so happened to be outside of my culture. I'm not about to go ahead and argue with God about what the situation is. Obviously, this person was made with me in mind. And it was this one person that we grew up together. And we used to call each other, this is my brother, X, Y, and Z. This man spent the night at my house. I spent the night at his, all of that. But then he got on his little tangents and stuff like that. And my cousin, he stepped in about it. He didn't tag me in the dialogue. He didn't nothing. He just fought that battle as if they were talking about him. And the only thing I could do is just thank that man, because that type of loyalty is just something that you can't buy. Now, I'll show you a shitty side of having the wrong type of friends. 2015, I got bullied. And it took me a long time. And I'm proud of myself for being able to say that right now. But 2015, I got bullied. And I was in the Marine Corps, obviously. And I ain't gonna say the ranks, I ain't gonna say the names. I'll just tell you the situation. My billet was higher than the people that were within the exact same realm with me. But although my billet was high, my rank was low. Let's just say that. And the problem when you have a high billet with a low rank is that you about to get pushed around. Ain't nobody about to listen to you. It just comes with the territory, I guess, right? But I got bullied. And here it is, this one in particular Marine swore up and down that he was my leader. Swore up and down that, he did the whole leadership traits, leadership principles, these are my Marines type, walk the walk. I'm getting bullied in front of him. And he just sitting there with this stupid ass look on his face. I'm getting bullied, stressed out. And he just standing there, just happy it ain't him. I pride myself on being such a good leader and stepping in when all else is when everybody else thought I wouldn't step in, because I know what it's like for somebody to not do it for me. And if I say it, I mean it. I'm not one of them type of people that just, oh, just because I said it, that doesn't mean, I'm not, I don't, if I'm saying it, I mean it. And I'll never forget that man. I'll never forget him, as long as he has always been a reference of what a shitty leader is to me. The same way that my cousin has always been a reference of what a good friend is, he has always been the reference of what a terrible friend and a shitty leader could be. And it's always been like, when we always talk about like calibrating our moral compass, showing like the most extreme wrong and the most extreme right and making sure that you stand within that. That's exactly what I have as my moral compass when I talk about like loyalty and like friendship and everything of that nature. That motherfucker and then the other guy. So I know. Also, moving on to the topics though. Moving on. What's a good friend? A good friend, let me rephrase that. A friend has so much power in your life, we don't even realize it. Friends actually have the people that we allow in our lives have so much power that we don't even realize. And I don't mean in the sense that they control you, but in the sense they actually do. Depending on the type of person that you allow in your life is going to determine whether or not you are a resident within your comfort zone or you are just visiting. I'll say that again. Depending on the person that you have in your life is going to determine whether or not you are a resident within your comfort zone or are you just visiting. If you got a shitty person that's in your life that does not aspire for growth, does not see growth within themselves, so they probably not going to see growth within you, you build up something called complacency. You build up this whole idea that what you have right now is all that you ever going to need in life. You don't need anymore. He told you, or they sold you this idea that there's no need to go higher. Let's just stay right here. It's too hard. Let's go back. Let's go the road less. That's not the type of person that you want. Now, depending on who you allow in your life can determine whether or not you just visiting in your comfort zone. And when I say just visiting, I'm talking about the friend that tells you like, hey man, like what's the goal? Like, I know you got this podcast. I've actually come across people that wanted more things bigger for the podcast than I ever thought. I've come across people that have been in my life that have told me, when you going to start doing the merchandise? When are you going to put the podcast on YouTube? When you going to go ahead and upgrade your phone? When are you going to go like really pushing it? And I've also had people that just said things like, oh, well, I mean, it's whatever. It's okay. Like I'm talking about like a real friend that aspires to, he wants to see you successful the same way that he wants to see himself successful. Like I really need you to understand that a good friend wants to see you successful just as bad as he wants to see you. Almost to the point that he about to push you out of your comfort zone. And I'm not talking about them friends that, oh yeah, let's go on these trips or let's go on these adventures and shit like that. Nah. I'm talking about the friends that trying to tell you like, hey, let's jumpstart the fucking years already. Why are we waiting? Why are we waiting on the 1st and the 15th when we can start creating our own monetary stuff? Why are we waiting for the 1st and the 15th when we can create our own form of revenue? Generate another stream of income. Friends that show up and support you. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about not just show up and support you in the sense of, hey man, I need gas money to get there. Hey, I need this to get there. Oh, I ain't coming. I'm talking about they showing up. They the cameraman. They the hype man. Hey, you want us to do the lights too? They a team. When you got a real good friend, you got a team. And that's what I really wanted to just drive on. This week, do an evaluation of the people that you have in your life. And just like the apps that are in your phone, that we probably forgot why we downloaded them. And they just holding up space. Just like the pictures that we took and they just holding up space because we never uploaded them or did anything with them. That's how some people are in your life. We are at the age that we don't just need people to talk to. We don't need people to just hang out with. We at the age where we need a team. to go further. So during this week, go ahead, do yourself a favor and evaluate who's on your team. And some of these people, might not make the cut. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned Mondays and Fridays. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks. Once again, that's Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled Meech. Once again, that is Meech. Don't forget to like the podcast, share the podcast, and follow the podcast. Stay hungry. Stay motivated. I'm out.